Barry Cordero, welcome everyone. I'm here with Barry Cordero, the President and Interim CEO of SHPE Inc. Today we're going to be talking about some of the questions that I and other people who are involved with SHPE have been asking around the proposed merger between SHPE Inc., which is a 501c6, and the SHPE Foundation, which is a 501c3, to become a new corporation, which would be a SHPE 501c3. I guess it would be an incorporated nonprofit. So, Barry, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks.
I guess the first question, is let's just introduce ourselves. So, I'm a member of SHPE. I'm actually a lifetime member. I've been involved since I was in college. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah. So I'm a lifetime member of SHPE. Also, I've been involved with SHPE since 2003. I've served in many different roles, from student chapter lead to a regional student rep and committee chairs, and I've been on the board for I guess the last 3.5, 4 years. I've been involved in the organization for a while, and I'm happy to serve.
Yep. Okay. So the first question, which will probably be a good segue into this whole discussion, is: could you give us a summary of the proposed merger, and what its purpose is? Like, why do a merger?
Okay. So maybe we'll start off with why do a merger, and then I can talk a little bit about the proposal. So, there's a lot of reasons that have brought us to this conclusion. The main reasons are that currently the organization is set up as really two completely codependent organizations: SHPE Inc. and the SHPE Foundation. We have a lot of sponsors that want to give to our organization because they believe in our mission. And they want to give because they want to see the execution of our programs, and they want to have access to our members. Many of our sponsors want to get a tax-free, want to be able to give tax-free, right? They want to be able to donate, and so we allow that. But there's some financial tracking that has to go in between the organizations. If a donor wants to sponsor and get tax deductibility, they have to donate to the 501c3, then that gets transferred to the 501c6. So the 501c3's purpose is really to develop programs in support of education, and then the 501c6, SHPE Inc., we implement and execute those programs through our chapters and our members. We really cannot exist without each other. I mean, we could exist, but we wouldn't be as successful. So over the years, creating this partnership has been really beneficial to both organizations. However, it's created a lot of complexity in financial controls and staffing, and our ability to just get work done. Currently, there's two separate boards. SHPE Inc. has a membership board. It's a board made up of representatives of the membership, and SHPE Foundation has a board that happens to also be made up of members of SHPE Inc. However, the members of SHPE Foundation are appointed by the board, and the intent of that board is they wanted to select highly influential and experienced board members to help drive the strategy of SHPE Foundation. So why do we want to do this merger? Well, the big reasons are we want to become more efficient, and we also want to develop the organization to realize its potential. So right now, we're a victim of our own devices, and that it's hard for us to get any work done without both boards approving, without both boards meeting and coming to agreement. It's very difficult. So one of the main hindrances is that two different boards, two different staffs. So this will allow us to combine.
So can I jump in there? So you indicated that there's the SHPE Inc., which is primarily elected positions, and then there's the SHPE Foundation, which is primarily, or it's all appointed.
Yeah.
And the appointments are done by the SHPE Foundation,
Board, yeah.
or sorry, for SHPE Inc. or SHPE Board. Um, so who controls, I guess, the money, or is the SHPE Foundation in control of more money than SHPE Inc., or is it kind of both are in control? They both receive and both use, or is one funding the other one?
All of the above are true. So, SHPE Foundation, their revenue is primarily from IPC contributions to SHPE Inc. So we get donations to SHPE Inc. A portion of that is restricted to scholarships and programs that SHPE Foundation runs. So we give a percentage of our IPC dues, our Industry Partnership Council, that goes to SHPE Foundation. The rest of their funds come from grants. So the biggest grant they've had is the NAVC/Penn State grant for junior chapters and Noche de Ciencias. And that's a big portion of funding that comes to SHPE Foundation. So they get funding in different ways. They have control of their funding. We also can control any funding that goes from SHPE Inc. to SHPE Foundation. We have control over. And they have control of any funds that go from SHPE Foundation to SHPE Inc. So yes.
So everyone has control over the funds that they provide.
Yeah.
But then there's some funds that come in directly to each organization, which may or may not be earmarked. And if they're earmarked, that means they have to go to certain purposes.
Yeah. So for 501c3s, restricted funds. Well, for any nonprofit, restricted funds must be used for their intended purpose. So it doesn't matter who controls it. The purpose, still exists, right? Because we're held accountable by the public, by the funders. So we can't use funds for anything than what they're intended.
Okay. So, I mean, this is actually a question I was going to have later, but the question about, are we in a deficit, or is there a problem financially that's driving this merger? Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So we're in a deficit. Both organizations have a deficit. That's not the reason that we're doing the merger. It's more of a symptom of the factors that existed that we want to clean up, right? So part of the reason we're in the deficit is really because of the downturn of the economy and our inability to act as a unified organization. We're two separate organizations. So yeah, we have a deficit on both organizations. A lot of that was downturn of the economy and our slow reaction to it. And so that exists on its own. And the reason we couldn't react quickly, part of the reason is because our poor financial controls and the complexity of funding between the two organizations, and how difficult it was to get a real picture of the financial status of the organization. And as things became more and more clear, and we had draft audits that were done that kind of led us to understand the lack of financial controls. You could put those financial controls in place without merging. We can get stronger and cleaner without merging. That's absolutely true. However, it doesn't get any less complex. It's just you have more controls, more reporting. So no, the financial condition of the organization is not driving the merger. And just to let me just explain a little bit more. As of April of 2014, when we had all the information we needed for financials, we had draft audits completed. They're just draft, right? They haven't been totally signed off, but it was enough information to show us where the problems were. So we took action, and SHPE Inc. board cut budget by several $100,000. We did that through staff reductions, through program changes. Members have noticed that at NELA, professionals were not completely covered now, right? They had to pay their own flight for the first time. This really helped us a lot to recover some of this deficit. Additionally, we sold the buildings that the SHPE Foundation was using, in Arlington, Virginia. And we've put many steps in place to reduce costs and increase revenue. The net is about 75% of the deficit will be taken care of by the end of the fiscal year. And you'll see that trend at the end of the year in the 990s and in the financial statements. Whether or not the merger happens, those countermeasures have been put into place, and we're moving forward to get healthier. SHPE Foundation has taken similar actions. So I would say, the conditions still exist. We're doing our best to fix them. The merger will allow us to be stronger, more efficient, and will help prevent some of these conditions happening in the future.
Okay. Yeah. No, thank you for doing that. I think that actually provides a lot of quick insight on where the money is or isn't going. And I do have a follow-up question though. You mentioned that we sold all the, I guess, the buildings in Virginia. Yeah. That's a one-time benefit. So is that part of what's being used to fix this year's the deficit, or?
Yeah. So it's more than, I guess it's more than a one-time benefit, right? Because it's liability that you're carrying, and if you don't have revenue that exceeds the cost of the mortgage, then it's a constant loss. And so that was one of the contributing factors over the years, is that we were never at full capacity with those buildings. They always had some problems. They were couldn't get tenants or whatever. When we looked at,
we didn't own it, and we're just kind of using it at a low cost. You're saying we had a mortgage and we were trying to rent out additional space so that we could break even essentially on the mortgage.
Yeah, and so I mean that's a portion of it. In the end, we really didn't have a choice but to sell it. We needed to sell it because it was excess liability, and because we were put in a situation because of the poor financial controls. The loan was sold to a company that wanted to offload it, and we didn't have any choice. And because our audits are not complete, again because of the complexities with the organization, we couldn't get refinanced. So we had no choice either to sell it or to go foreclose on it, and we didn't want to foreclose. So we sold it. We sold both buildings. We just sold those before the end of last fiscal year. Our end of the fiscal year is July.
So when we sold it, did we, I guess, make money or break even on the mortgage?
No, we did. We made a few $100,000 that is helping with the deficit, and then also that cash flow gap, right, that we were having by making payments on those mortgages, that's gone as well. So okay. Both those are tailwinds for us. It really helps us with the cash flow situation.
So now you can all go virtual temporarily if needed, and you don't have to deal with real estate assets that you have to pay for.
Yeah, so temporarily we have staff for the SHPE Foundation that are in Virginia. Long term, it would be best if all of our staff was in one office. Because, even though we're not paying a mortgage, we're still paying a rent, and we're paying a rent in one building that we probably don't need. And
Got it.
Rent in another building, but we haven't made a decision on where we want to reside permanently.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so now I'm going to jump into some kind of my prepared questions based on reaching out to a few other members and my own questions. So the first one is there's been complaints, or some people believe that these merger discussions and process were conducted in secrecy. Is that true? And if so, why not just provide transparency?
Yeah, so I think frequently the phrase lack of transparency is synonymous with poor communication. So I don't think that anything was trying to be hidden at any time. However, yes, the initial merger discussions were done in closed session, and that was a conscious decision that was made by the previous board of SHPE Inc. and the previous board of SHPE Foundation. And it was made through the advice of our legal counsel and our consultant. And the reason is because we wanted to figure out what the compromises are between these two organizations first, right? The problem with with if you go the other way, let's open it up to all member feedback, and then bring it all together, and then make a proposal. The problem is that the majority of what the members want, the board already knows and has been fighting for, but we still have to come to compromise with the SHPE Foundation. We will never please every condition of every member. We can't. We have to come to a compromise based on the principles of the merger and based on both organizations coming to an agreement. So the recommended process was come to agreement first, and then bring it to the members for vote. Because in the end, the members have to agree on it, no matter what. We can't do this as accused in secrecy. We can't make any business decisions without the members because of the California Corporate Code. It requires that for a membership organization that the members have to approve of the merger.
Okay, great. So following on to that, then something else was brought up to my attention, and I think it's in the bylaws basically that it states that February 15th is the normal deadline for elections, and any changes to the bylaws require all members to vote, not just a small portion of them. Can you explain why a vote is being held earlier than the normal deadline, and why the percentage of votes needed to make changes to the bylaws is being relaxed to only require greater than 50% vote?
Yeah, so there's a little misconception there. So the SHPE Inc. bylaws, all the rules they state about elections refer to changes to bylaws or elections of board members. What's being proposed here is not covered in those bylaws. We're doing a merger between two organizations, and that is not a bylaw change. It's a business. It's two companies coming together, right? So because that's not covered in the bylaws, we have to default to the California Corporate Code. And the California Corporate Code requires that a majority of the members have to agree with the decision to merge. And so that's what we're following, because we're not amending the bylaws, we're adopting new bylaws for a new organization. So why didn't we use February 15th, since that's what we normally use for any election? The reason is that after February 15th, there's a grace period and everything where you can still consider active members from the previous fiscal year. But after a certain amount of time, and I don't have it on the top of my head, we reset our members, right? So we start again with 0 plus all our lifetime members. So every year, and I hate this, but every year we do this, we start with almost no members, and then we build up our membership numbers again. So if we were to consider all members as of February 15th of last fiscal year to vote on a decision for this fiscal year, what we would effectively be doing is asking people who are no longer paid, no longer invested in the organization, to make a decision about the future of the organization. So we have to decide, when do we consider membership? So we could push it all the way off to the end of the fiscal year and say, well, this is as big as we would possibly be. Or we can decide now and say, look, the lifetime members are here no matter what. They're the most invested members. So we're going to hear their vote. And then whoever is paid right now is pretty much ready to go to the conference. And these are the second class of really bought-in members. We think that's a good slice of the representation of the membership. And right now I think we're somewhere in 5,000 area of paid members, which is about half. And if you ask most chapter leaders, they would say, oh, about half of our members are pretty bought in. So I'm not too concerned about when the line is drawn, because no matter when it's drawn, we will hear from the lifetime members. And to me, that's the most important part of it.
Okay. So the secretive meetings and increased urgency call into question the finances of SHPE. What kind of financial problems are we facing? I mean, I know I asked you kind of that question already, but do we have any additional financial problems that we need to talk about?
Well, so first of all, I think think we have to clarify that the board has the right to call a closed session at any time, especially when we're talking about conditions about the future of the organization that we haven't come to agreement with on other organizations. So, for example, with the merger, you don't want to air out all the arguments and discussions around who needs to be on the board, who doesn't. I mean, these are things that, you know, it could damage people's reputation, right? And it's just unnecessary. So typically, you do things like that in closed session. Second of all, the question is, do we have other financial problems that need to be addressed? So the current situation, as I described, we have a deficit on SHPE Inc. We have a deficit on SHPE Foundation. So we have an action plan for each of those deficits. You know, we are on track to pay back all chapter member reimbursements from last fiscal year by the end of October. We're on track to reimburse all profits for RLDCs, for all previous RLDCs. So 2012 is paid, 2013 will be caught up by the end of October. And I believe we'll have some headway on RLDCs from 2014. Our conference this year is coming in, well, it's $600,000 above our projected target, with expenses held $200,000 below. It sounds great, but you know, we have deficit, so we'll make a lot of headway on that deficit. By the end of the fiscal year, we won't be out. Okay, so we'll still have a little bit of a deficit, but we'll be in a much better condition. We were able to catch up quicker than anticipated, which allowed us to hire a CEO quicker. So we'll be announcing a new CEO within the next 2 weeks. So no, I think the financial news to be had is mostly good. I don't see a whole lot of bad. Oh, and I would mention that we also added 3 more industry partner level sponsors as well. So we went from 44 back up to 47, which is a trend in the right direction.
Okay. So, and I think you already answered in the previous question. I heard that dues have not been paid, or dues paid by chapters to nationals have not been sent back, and I guess that's the reimbursement process. And so basically what you're saying is you had to hold on to that money until you had money to pay them back? Is that?
That's exactly right. So it's a cash flow situation, right? And those are not legally restricted funds. Those are internally restricted funds, right? And so we look at that as cash flow opportunity that we can use to pay bills for vendors that if they don't get paid, they're gonna, you know, add interest and sue or whatever else. So we want to pay them first, and then next pay off our members who you know, are doing all the work for us. One of the controls we put in place to prevent this situation from happening in the future, especially around our LDCs, is we've set up isolated accounts for all regional programs. So all regional vice presidents moving forward will have more autonomous control over the dues allocations from the IPCs that go to RLDCs and all other regional programs. So that's out of the way of cash flow. So no longer would SHPE be able to use those funds to pay off other bills or you know, to get ourselves in a better situation. Now that's separated, that's isolated. And if you're having trouble with the RLDC, you have a much shorter ladder to climb to get answers. It's all controlled by the regional committee, with the regional vice president having control of the budget.
And that's going to be in place even if the merger goes through or not? That's already in place.
Yeah, it's already in place.
Okay. So here's a question that I hear a lot, which is people are under the impression that by merging the two entities, it will facilitate commingling of funds.
Yeah.
What, if anything, will be put in place to prevent that?
Yeah. So you know, I guess that phrase "commingling of funds" is it's a little tricky to describe that. I guess let me explain that. Currently, there are hundreds of thousands of dollars of transactions that go back and forth between the two organizations. That's happening today. So we could be accused today of commingling funds because our revenue supports their expenses, their revenue supports our expenses. So, so what would change if we went to one organization is there are no separate organizations that need to have tracking. It's just one organization, right? Revenue comes in and expenses go out. So in fact, we would need fewer controls on the transactions between the organizations because there wouldn't be a between. So what will be put in place? Well, all the recommendations from the auditor for financial controls, we've already started putting those in place. We've converted all our finances to not the best, but a much better tracking system, and we're starting to review, as we should, clearer balance sheets and P&L statements on a quarterly basis. And in fact, we have a better visibility to cash flow than we've ever had, in my opinion, from the amount of time that I've been working with the organization. That we have never had this ability to see what does the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months look like with revenue, expenses, and what can we do now to make sure that we don't end up in a bad situation.
Excellent. Okay. So great. So now we've talked about, kind of what's driving this merger. Now let's talk about the board structure, because I think that's something else that has a lot of contention. The new hybrid board structure puts significantly more power in the non-elected board member positions. I believe it's 9 appointed positions and then 6 elected positions. So I guess the question is, how is this non-democratic structure good for the organization?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, I think there's this underlying assumption that those that are appointed to the board are different, that they're a different population, right? And if you dig into that idea, the intent is those that are appointed do not have the same, I guess, stakes in the organization, and fundamentally, I don't believe that to be true. When you look at those that are appointed, I'm among them. I'm a lifetime member. Diana Gomez, one of our longest-serving presidents, is among the appointed board. Rod Garcia, the founder of our organization, is on the appointed board. So first of all, I would say if you think they're any different than you as a lifetime member or any of the lifetime members, I think I would argue with you on that. I think we all have the benefit of the organization in mind. In addition, we have Miguel Alemany, Dalio Sanchez, who are longtime board members and advisors for both organizations, and have plenty of other things they could be doing, but they continue to be invested and trying to drive the benefit of the organization. So that's what I would say first. And there's I could list all of them, but we chose people that we believe are invested and do want the best for the organization. But we chose people that are influential and have a substantial network and access to dollars that can help us drive our strategy. So why did we do this? Well, we want a board that is an oversight board. We want a board that's strategic, influential, can bring money. And the fact of the matter is, we have those people within our membership, and so those are some of the ones we've appointed. But we don't have a lot, and those that we do have won't do the election process. And the reason is because you have to stand and face me in a debate in front of a bunch of students who are very passionate and well-meaning, but it takes a considerable amount of time, and there's a risk to your character. I mean, there's a risk to how people view you, and people don't want to do that, especially the people that we want, the people that are influential. If I wanted to bring in an executive VP from a Fortune 100 company and ask him to run an election against me, I think that'd be embarrassing for him. And like, why would he do that, or she, right? So, so that's part of the reason we decided to go majority appointed, and the other reason is, the reason we decided to do the hybrid is because we believe that there's a significant growth opportunity for members who get to work with these board members, and we still want to keep that spirit of the membership representation front and center on the board. people who are currently active and involved in their chapters. But we have to stay strategic, and if you have people with tactical responsibilities on the board, it's very difficult to make decisions that are long-term, that are visionary. And we have amazing regional vice presidents, but they're doing two jobs. They're tactically executing the programs in their region, and they're expected to strategically somehow separate themselves from that and make decisions for the whole organization. It's very difficult to do.
Understood. So I don't know if you've looked at the bylaws much of other organizations. I happen to just take a look at the Society of Women Engineers. Very successful nonprofit focused on encouraging STEM for women. My understanding from reading their bylaws is that they're comprised of a primarily elected board and leadership. Why not just follow their model?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things to consider that are different from the Society of Women Engineers. First of all, if you look at the demographics of corporate America, there are at least 5 times the number of women in senior executive levels than there are Hispanics in general. So this opens up a lot more opportunity and a lot more people that you could bring into this board. So that's one thing. They've taken advantage of it as an organization, and they've done what we're trying to do, right? They've developed a very strong and consistent value proposition for professional members to help them manage their careers. We continue to try to do this, but it's a chicken-egg problem, right? We are currently 85% undergrad and 15 to 20% professional. Society of Women Engineers is 60 to 65% professional, and they've been at a much higher level for a much longer time. I think they're 70 years old, maybe 80. They're much older than us, and they've had a lot of time to get their act together. So yeah, we could slowly run the course and try to convert over to this majority professional organization and wait for the critical mass of Hispanic executives that want to be influential on our board and slowly convert the election process to no longer have campaigns. But I don't think we have time for that. The environment right now is, like it or not, we have competitors. We want them to be partners. We're all here for the same benefit, but we're competitors because we're going after the same money. When you look at the environment right now, organizations that don't typically get involved in STEM for Hispanics are getting involved in STEM for Hispanics because we're appearing to be weak. They're seeing an opportunity where they can benefit and they can also create value. We need to get our stuff together. We don't have time to wait. I think the conditions are right for us to grow. We have momentum, and I think we need to take advantage of that. And these aren't just my thoughts; these are the views of both boards, of both organizations. So I think that's why there's a lot of urgency, and that's why we're not going to take the long road.
Okay. No, I actually recently read an article. I think the president of LAM, Latinos a Morir, put out on the statistics for Hispanics in. Actually, it's in Silicon Valley as well as elsewhere. But to your point, even with the higher than normal percentage of Hispanics that are educated, there's still a very small percentage overall of Hispanics that are being selected for companies. So there definitely is a gap that we need to help reduce so that there's more Hispanics being given opportunities. The new organization is said to be aimed at being and this is, I think, a quote from your summary of what the changes are, a true membership organization. I heard that from someone that this sounds like we would be changing into an exclusive organization, which could potentially alienate people interested in joining. How is this changing from what we are today?
Yeah, so it's actually not changing a whole lot from where we are today. So today we're a true membership organization. SHPE Inc. is a true membership organization. In order to benefit from our national programs, you have to be a paid member. we relax those conditions in certain situations, like programs only, registration, or career fair only can be done without membership, and it's strategic, right, to get people to become members. So in the end, we're not changing that. Today, we're a membership organization. The new merged organization will also be a membership organization. The only difference is that it's now a 501c3 instead of a 501c6 to the member.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, and that was my impression too in reading it, but I just wanted to confirm from you. Now, we discussed how the 9 appointed board members will know what they are doing to ensure continuity for the organization. Another option would be to implement member levels where you have to have 10 years of industry experience and membership as a requirement to be an elected to serve as an elected board member. That would do two things. One, it would reduce competition, which was one of the things you were mentioning earlier that might scare off executives. But then secondly, it would help everyone to feel that they chose which executives they want to serve as board members. Would that be an alternative that you would consider, or is there a reason why that also is not a good idea?
No, it's one of the alternatives we did consider, and I just want to remind everyone that the people that serve on the board were elected to represent the members, and they do have the best intentions to represent the membership based on their experience. All of them have been chapter leaders in some aspects, and they all understand the complexities of running a chapter. So, I wish we could get past this idea that the board is trying to do something for their own benefit, because it's just not true. So, the question around, well, why didn't we consider just raising the requirements to be elected? Honestly, today we struggle to get people to run for the board. Today, with no restrictions, right? The only restriction we have is you have to have previously served on the board to run for national president. All the rest of them are just that you're an active paid professional member or student member based on the role. Every year we struggle to fill those roles. They're very labor-intensive positions because they're tactical and strategic. We're not an oversight board yet. You look at real boards at companies, like boards of directors at companies. They don't get tasks. They don't get actions. They're not expected to work through the weekends, every weekend, to help create new proposals. These are things that you delegate to the staff. And we're not there yet. We have a plan to get there, and we believe we need that tactical role, and we need that with the RVPs. That's why that position continues, and that's why it's stronger now with more autonomy to their budgets. But we considered, if we raise the bar, what would happen? Well, we get even fewer candidates. When you look at our professional pool, we have maybe 2,000 professional members. If you break that down, 20% of them are early career, and about 30% are late career. The 30% that are late career, many of them are lifetime members. And although every year they have the opportunity to run, they decide not to. And we've had a few run in the past, and they haven't won. But it's very difficult to convince someone to take on this level of responsibility at that time in their life. So to change the responsibilities, become an oversight board, and then bring in the level of professional that we want. And so it's kind of chicken or the egg. I don't think we can get there with the current structure quick enough, right, to take advantage of the market conditions right now.
I hear you, and then that is a fair answer. So then I guess the last question is, what is your backup alternative plan if this proposal is not approved by the members?
Yeah, so if the merger is not approved, we'll continue operating the organization as we are today. We'll try to understand again what's missing from the proposal. So the first round we went with our current elected representation to understand the needs. We fought that out and came out with a compromise. We determined there was an opportunity to improve it further, so we asked for more feedback. We sent out a few emails to all current and previously paid members from last fiscal year to get their feedback. Of the 8,000 emails we sent out, we got 40 responses. Of the 40 responses, 5 of them had text. And those 5 that had text, 3 of them had recommendations to improve the bylaws, and 1 of them just stated that he's opposed to the merger no matter what we do. So I believe that we've benefited from taking a pause and getting more input, and I strongly believe, and the boards believe, that this is the best proposal we could come up with right now. And so I think that the membership is either engaged enough to understand it, or they believe that the proposal is pretty good, and they're not going to offer any further feedback. You know, this is what you can construe from the responses. So if it doesn't go through, if the majority of the membership doesn't agree with it, then what we would do is do further engagement, go deeper, do, you know, one-on-one sessions if we need to figure out what is the compromise we need to come to. And then we'd have to, again, bring it to the foundation board, come to a compromise, bring it back to the members, get their vote. Right? So we'll do what it takes to make it happen, but you know, it's necessary for us to get stable enough to grow and to reach our potential. If you look at our vision, the vision statement is about, you know, the community becoming influential and respected. You know, we need to start with our own house. We need to get influential. We need to be respected for having our finances in order, for having controls in place, for being able to make quick decisions and take advantage of opportunities as they come. You know, I get at least 5 emails a week from other organizations who want to partner with us, who want to get a part of the Hispanic STEM movement. And we're not in a position to take advantage of all of those. You know, some of them we are, and you've heard about First Robotics Partnership and Telemundo, and you've heard about our efforts to partner with Metronet. But you know, there's hundreds of other opportunities, and we need to be stable enough to be able to make tough decisions that will benefit the community. And when I say the community, that includes our members, but it's everyone else who hasn't yet bought in to becoming a member. And we're not there yet, and I believe this merger will help us get there.
Okay, great. So the last thing, I guess, is, and I said that twice now, but this is the last one. Let's talk about the election process. I believe it's opening up on Monday, and then it's going to be available for 2 weeks. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so the election will open on October 20th. It'll be open for 2 weeks. We'll close it at midnight on November 2nd. So we, you know, we've informed the membership of this coming vote at the end of August, early September. So we believe we've met the requirements for what the corporate code calls a reasonable notification time. And you know, we sent out a lot of reminders about, you know, renewing your dues. So we have the numbers we have today. In order to get this passed, it's actually more strict than a typical election. We need 10%, at least 10% of each body, each group members. So we need 10% of student chapters to vote. We need 10% of graduate students to vote. And we need 10% of paid professionals to vote. If we don't meet those minimum numbers, then the vote doesn't matter if pass or fail. It's an inconclusive election.
Okay.
And so we need people to get the word out, regardless of your opinion on the merger. I think we need to remind all our members that it's time to vote. It's time to make a decision about the future of the organization.
Sounds good. So I've provided a link in the description of this broadcast on all the information that you've provided us, you know, through the website. There's a tiny URL link. So if you want to read more about the bylaws and any of the other proposed mergers and all that information, it's all available through there. Anything else you want to tell everyone, Barry, while I have you on?
No, it's this is the second year of my 2 terms as president. It's been an honor to serve in this role, and I just really appreciate all the members' trust and engagement in this process. And I look forward to seeing you all at the national conference in Detroit.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much. I'm going to shut down now, and have a great weekend.
All right. Thank you. See you. Bye-bye.